Hello peeps, my name is Angelica and this is the Angelica. I don't know why I decided to try and switch up my intro. Hi, my name is Angelica and this is the Angelica Unfiltered channel where I talk about health, wellness, weight loss, but mostly fat acceptance. Y'all really liked the last subreddit video I did about Fatlogic, so I decided it'd be fun to do another one. I spent almost 2.5 hours filming a summary of the Your Fat Friend documentary about Aubrey Gordon, and I just know that's going to take me a couple days to edit, and I know this video will only take me a couple hours to edit, so I thought I would film this, edit it, put it out as soon as possible so I can go work on that documentary. I feel like between editing the reactions and then rewatching the film to take notes, I feel like I've fucking seen this thing like 6 times. But I do it for y'all. And if you're interested in seeing my live reaction to the Your Fat Friend documentary, I uploaded them to members only because they got copyright striked. And then I think the second one got age restricted too. Channel membership is only $1.99 a month, so check that out if you're interested. And I'm wearing some smoky quartz so I can stay grounded while we look at this bullshit. And of course, necklaces for my business, Rebirth Jewelry. Use code YouTube10 to save 10% off. All right, let's go look at this stupid bullshit. So I thought it'd be fun to start out with a goofy one, I guess. This was posted 6 days ago. The caption says, "In case you didn't know, this person is so important that they can offend you personally with their fat." So it looks like a screenshot from Tumblr. In my head, I'm like starting to read it in the tone of I'm a Creep by Radio Creep. I'm a large fat. Fat acceptance music parodies coming very soon. Make sure to sign up to my newsletter. Just kidding. It says, "I'm fat. I'm a large fat. I'm a fatty. I'm a fatso. I am unconcerned with diet culture. I will not pursue intentional weight loss. I am not on this planet to shrink myself. I do not exist to starve myself. I talk a lot about being fat because it's a part of who I am and it affects my everyday life. I am proud to be fat. I am fat and taking up space I deserve. I will never shut up about being fat. I didn't go through a bad relationship with food, movement, and my body to stay silent about my fatness and fat liberation. Society has bullied me into silence, and they don't want to do it now. I'm the exact amount of fat that offends you personally. Hashtag just to piss off the thins who hate when fat people talk about being fat. Hashtag fat pride. Hashtag fat. Hashtag fat acceptance, hashtag fat liberation, hashtag large fat." Should we pull up, let's see, the fat spectrum? I really should just have this printed out and paste it on my wall so I can refer back to it, because it seems like I'm talking about it every fucking video. So according to the fat spectrum that I have pulled up now, there is no large fat, but there is a super fat. So I'm going to assume that they're a super fat. And bitch, if they're a super fat, they're fucking fat. I'll put it up on the screen, obviously. The person on this Tumblr post says large fat, but I'm gonna assume they are super fat because there is no large fat on the fat spectrum. I'm an expert, okay. A super fat or a large fat, we will assume, is a 4 to 5X, a size 26 to 32, a torrid 4 to 6. This is usually the highest size at plus sizes stores, and you can only usually shop them online. They gotta be pushing 400, 500 pounds, in my humble opinion. I mean, we don't have a picture of them, so it's hard to guess, but a large fat ain't a fucking joke, I'll tell you that. You gotta put in some work to be that goddamn fat. I just shared this in my community tab, but I'll put it down in the description below too. I just watched this video from 𝓌𝒾𝓃𝓾𝓃𝓃, and he talked a lot about the toxic ritualistic behaviors and like what people do when they're in fat acceptance, or, you know, like they struggle with EDs and, you know, just kind of like the crazy shit that people do. And you're like, that's like actually not normal, but for some reason in this very niche circle of the internet, it seems as natural. Cracking open a sugar-free Red Bull to get through all of this. You know, when you're in the fat acceptance movement, fatness becomes your personality, and I understand your weight and what you look like obviously is a part of who you are, but it doesn't have to be the sole focus. And that's something that really turned me off about fat acceptance towards the end of my journey, because I actually made a YouTube video about this on my other channel before I started deconstructing my beliefs around fat acceptance. But like, I really struggle with feeling completely understood, or like, I'm not sure if people understand me as a full human being, but I know at the end of the day, like, that doesn't matter, and who I think I am is the most important. And when you are in communities like the fat acceptance community, your weight and what you look like just becomes the sole focus of, I don't want to say like your brand, but like kind of like who you are. And quite frankly, our appearance, my appearance, is the least interesting thing about myself and yourself. I understand why there is a community being built around weight, but I also don't think that it's a very healthy community to be in. You know, it's not like being Hispanic and living in like a Hispanic neighborhood and, you know, having an actual solid community where, you know, you have these mutually beneficial relationships and you do things for each other and you really like each other and you almost like treat each other like family. And it's like with the fat acceptance, it just feels like a big pity party. It just is, it feels super toxic to be constantly hung up on one part of yourself, and of course, fat, because there's more to me, there's more to you, there is more to everyone in the fat acceptance community than our bodies. And it's like the thing with 𝒹𝒾𝓃𝓀𝓈. Everyone, she always says that people hate her because she's fat, and it's like, no, everyone hates you because of 3,000 other reasons, and you just happen to be fat. Like, and the same goes for like liking people. If you truly like someone, it's because of many other reasons, not just because of their appearance. And I hope that one day people in the fat acceptance community can realize that they're more interesting than just being morbidly obese. And if you are this obsessed with being fat, like whoever wrote this thing on Tumblr, I know that you're chronically online. No tea, no shade, because I also am. Because people in real life don't talk about what they look like this often. All right, this one is kind of blown out a little. We'll have to zoom in on this, but Vodka Fairy posted this 2 days ago. Hello, Vodka Fairy. Let's, I hope and pray that you're not an alcoholic. Vodka Fairy, what a username. So I'm going to make my username sugar-free Red Bull Fairy. The caption says, 800 calories is not a ton and not indicative of the rest of their meals, but it meant everything to this author. I'm not sure what platform this post was made on. Okay, so I think I'll read it and then we can discuss after. You guys, having a YouTube channel is really helping me work on my reading comprehension and reading aloud skills. You know, at 28, could use those a little earlier in life. Okay, so I think this is a segment of something else. Here we go. But instead of feeling proud of my dieting achievement that night, something happened that would forever change the way I viewed my body. Something profound that confirmed I was not quote unquote normal. What happened? My friend ordered a beer and a burrito and devoured it all. Yes, that seemingly trivial event changed everything. Lindsay was a 4'11" and probably about 95 pounds. She never went to the gym. She drank sugary lattes and indiscriminately ate fast food. She worked in the lab all day like me and hunched over a computer in the evening. Yet somehow this petite woman was able to pack in such a large steak burrito with beans, rice, sour cream, guacamole, cheddar cheese, all wrapped in a flour tortilla, and then down a beer as if it was nothing unusual. Side note, people in the fat acceptance community, and I guess like fat people in general, they hate when people notice like them as their body, or like when they see them, they hate that people point out their fatness, or like that's the first thing they see. But someone's body size is also the first thing that people in fat acceptance or fat people notice about other people as well. It's not just, and I notice that too. I think that's a very unhealthy habit to have, but it's, I guess, maybe also just human nature to notice people's weight. It's not like I'm commenting on it or anything. Continue. She had no guilt afterwards, no appearance of worry. She made no comments about feeling sick after eating it, or how she would need to run on the treadmill the next morning. All right, I'm gonna make comments like like I said I wouldn't. But it's like, it's almost as if Lindsay has a healthy relationship with food and she can indulge every once in a while and not feel bad about it because she's not gorging all the time. Back to the post. Nothing. It was all just a normal everyday occurrence to eat an 800-calorie dinner at 8 o'clock in the evening, and her jeans were smaller than mine. How could this be? I lived with the ongoing hunger, pain, and discipline to stay thin. If I ever took one step out of line, I had to pay a price on the scale. Yet there was the effortlessly tiny woman who ate 3 times what I ever dared to consume in one sitting. And I felt as though nature was cackling in my face. Look how unfair I can be and how little you can do about it. Oh, sorry, I didn't pull it down for you guys. There you go, in case you wanted to read that. Sorry. I mean, obviously, whoever wrote this has some fucking demons in their head that they're fighting, but I think a lot of us see what people eat and we assume that that's how they eat every single day. You know, I will hang out with my two best friends every couple months. We all live in different towns, so it's hard to get together. They are super tall, athletic built, very fit, in shape, and you know, we always throw it down at Olive Garden. Always. Soup, salad, a million breadsticks, pop, entrees. Our pants are exploding when we leave. And, you know, for the longest time when I was delusional and not in reality, when you see people eat like that once and you're also eating like that with them, for some reason it like confirms some sort of bias in your head, and you think like, well, I'm eating like this and they're eating like this, and you know, I eat very similarly every single day, so they obviously do too, and I don't understand why I'm fat and they're thin. You know, we eat the same thing. There must be something wrong with my metabolism, or you know what I mean? Like, then you go spiraling thinking that there's something wrong about you. I mean, which there definitely is, but you don't actually take into consideration what people or friends or, you know, whoever you're going out to eat with actually eat on a daily basis. Like, one of my friends who I smack down at Olive Garden with, she eats like fucking egg whites, spinach feta omelets in the morning. And then the other friend I go with, he fucking rides on his Peloton 7 days a week, and what he has for breakfast is like a little espresso, and all of his meals are small and healthy. And it's like, yeah, I'm the fucking obese one because, well, I work out now and I'm cutting back my calories and stuff, but it's like, I was the one that was 772 pounds because I was the one gorging and eating like I was at an Olive Garden buffet every single day, and that was a special event, or you know, something that they maybe only do once a month, once every couple weeks, and that's the way I eat every single day. You know, whoever wrote this article is saying like, oh, well, I basically eat a third of the way that this person does, and it's like, obviously, like, when you are delusional, you aren't very conscious of what you are eating, especially if you just, you know, pick up a snack here and there and there and there and there, and like, all of a sudden, you know, if you grab a handful of chips, some nuts, a string cheese, a Dr. Pepper, a muffin, like, that's 1,000 calories that you probably didn't even think, but you had it. And so say Lindsay does have a sugary latte every single morning, and then she has this big ass burrito and a beer. Say her latte is 300 calories, and then her burrito, 800, her beer 200. That's 1,300 calories. And she's staying thin because, you know, hypothetically, let's say she eats this every single day. Hypothetically, she stays that weight, she stays that 95 pounds because she's eating in a calorie maintenance for her weight and height. And if you are severely overweight, it is because you are overeating. And I know that's like, I keep wanting to say like, oh, I know that sounds mean, or I know that sounds bitchy, but it's like literally just the truth. You are fat because you eat too much. She is thin, and even if she doesn't work out, it is because she's eating the right amount of food or calories for her body. And it's not saying that what she's doing is healthy, not saying what she's doing is the right thing, but it's just the calorie aspect of it. She is eating the right amount of calories to stay that weight. It seems like the writer is saying like, oh, she does this every day, she has no guilt. And it's like, okay, well, because obviously she has a better relationship with food. Not saying what she's eating and doing is very healthy, but it's the calories of it all. And if you claim that you're eating a third of what she does, then you're just fucking lying to yourself. The number on the scale don't lie, baby. 7 days ago, you're not fat enough to be fat, so shut up. Okay. This is also giving me Tumblr, this font in the background color. Is there fat acceptance on Tumblr? We're gonna have to infiltrate that. So this goes, I saw someone who had no double chin call themselves fat. I'm gatekeeping the word fat. You gotta have some sort of softness about your face and more than a handful of stomach. I know the world makes everyone seem like they're obese, but only a select beautiful chosen few actually are. You can join the club if you want, but for now, just accept that you are within the range of body weight considered just a little chubby and not immoral and decadent. Hold on, dyslexia coming in. Let's see. Decadent and not immoral and decadence, characterized by or reflecting a state of moral or cultural decline. So degenerate. Okay. I don't think, well, I guess depending on who you ask, But I don't think the average person thinks a fucking fat person is a degenerate, especially because, what's my statistic I found? 74% of Americans are overweight and 43% of them are qualified as obese. It's a lot of degenerates walking around here. Me being one of them, you know. You know, one of those selective, beautiful, chosen, obese fatties out there. Like me. So gorgeous. Just kidding. Yeah, so people in the fat acceptance community, or like super fat people, they have reclaimed the word fat, but there is this criteria someone has to make to be qualified to say the word fat, but there isn't really any strict guidelines on who and who is not allowed to say the word fat. I think when most people call themselves fat, you know, it's kind of like more of a feeling or a state of mind. You know, maybe they're having a bad body image day, or they ate too much, or they gained a little bit of weight. Not everyone takes it on as a personality trait, like people in the fat acceptance community or people with other issues, I'll say. Could be talking too much about ED. That's how my other video got age restricted. And I just love how they're like, only a select, beautiful, chosen few are actually obese. And it's like, girl, at this point, it's getting to almost half of the population. Someone doesn't choose you to be obese, you become obese by eating too goddamn much. Everyone's definition of, you know, just a little bit chubby is different, because obviously I don't think I'm fucking as super fat as people on 600-pound life, but I obviously know I'm not thin or a normal size, so I feel like I would consider myself a little bit chubby, or a lot chubby, or just chubby. But technically, according to the BMI, I am still obese. Until I lose another 25 pounds, I am obese. You don't get to pick your BMI range. There's, you know, like a set scale of where everyone is. I'm just so sick of hearing people in the fat acceptance community just talk about how other people view fat people as immoral and degenerate and lazy, ugly, fat, stinky, stupid, unlovable. And it's like, who said that? Maybe like one asshole commented that on your video. The average person that is not obsessed with body image or size or weight doesn't think that about fat people. To be honest, they probably don't even think about fat people. Like my thin friends, my friends with a normal relationship with food and exercise, they don't think about fat people as much as I do. They don't have a YouTube channel talking about fat people on the internet, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like this sort of disordered thinking and like the patterns and, you know, how they truly feel about themselves that they are projecting onto the outside world. Because I feel like I could call up, not that I have that many friends, but I feel like if I could call up all of my thin friends and ask them, what is fatness? What do you think about fat people? They'd be like, fat is overweight. Fat people are fat. And the whole fucking country is fat. So there's not much to say about it. It's only people in the fat acceptance community that like come up with this word salad of what it means to be fat. So it says, caring about health isn't bullying. Okay, so this is a screenshot of Instagram, which is a screenshot of X or Twitter. So it says, nah, I'm fucking tired. What's your most woke DEI radical leftist opinion? So this person quote tweets it, you know, because they got to share their leftist radical opinion, saying, being fat isn't immoral, and mistreating people who are fat under the guise of quote unquote caring about their health is complete bullshit. You don't care about a stranger's health, you just want a socially acceptable target to bully so you can feel good about yourself. Only people in the fat acceptance community are saying that being fat is a moral failure. Normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill people don't equate weight and morality. Their bad habits are pointed out to them. They always think of it as hate or being mistreated when people are just trying to critique them or actually show genuine concern about what they're doing. But, you know, they take it as someone just being a hater. And of course, I know that there are people out there that can be total assholes for no reason. Believe me, I've gotten comments like that when I was in fat acceptance. I even made a video reacting to all the old comments that I got in my fat acceptance videos. I think it is impossible to care about every individual person's health in, I'll say this country because, the obesity epidemic is something that is very pressing in America. You can care about the general population's health, especially when 73% of them are overweight. I really should have this like fucking tattooed on my hand. 43% of them being obese, and then it's a smaller percentage of them being morbidly obese, like 9%, and then like 30 or 40 something being just overweight. I think most people do want the best for others, as a society, as a country, for the world. I don't think there's that many super evil, demonic human beings out there, but I obviously do know that bullies exist. I think most people that show concern about someone's weight or their fatness are usually someone that you either know in real life, friend, family, coworker, that care about you, or, if you have some sort of social media following, or if you just post on social media and people start to build a parasocial relationship with you, and, they start to comment on your weight and what you look like. It's because they genuinely are concerned or feel like it's so important that they have to say something because they care about you. It's not just because people want to be haters most of the time. And I'm not the person to talk about this. I feel like we would have to do a fucking group project because I'm not as educated in politics as I would like to be. But I just think it's so interesting that the fat acceptance movement, or people in the fat acceptance movement, claim to be radically left. And I just think that would make for a very interesting video essay. But someone else will have to do it. Or one of you guys will have to craft up a script and I can speak it. So this one says, if being fat makes you happy, why do fat activists keep spiraling and being miserable? So maybe this is a quote from someone's story, or maybe a post they put on Instagram or Facebook. It says, if being thin prevents diabetes, why do thin people get diabetes? If being thin prevents fatty liver, why do thin people have fatty liver disease? If being thin prevents hypertension, why do thin people have hypertension? If being thin prevents joint pain, why do thin people have joint pain? If being thin prevents sleep apnea, why do thin people have sleep apnea? Everyone I know that has had sleep apnea has been morbidly obese. My dad, glitter and lasers, Chantel, Foodie Booty. Exactly. That's just so funny. Why, if being fat makes you happy, then why are you so fucking miserable all the time? Just a contradiction. Like many that are in the fat acceptance community. So many people in the fat acceptance community claim that, you can be healthy at every size, which I think can be true to an extent, or maybe for a small period of time. It's easier to be overweight in your teens and 20s when you are younger and your bones and your muscles don't hurt as much and you have more energy. But the older you get, I think year by year, the harder being overweight makes life. Whether people like it or not, being obese is a risk factor to so many disorders and diseases, because having so much extra body fat fucks you up in so many ways more than you think. Everyone knows about diabetes, fatty liver, fatty heart, joint pain, sleep apnea, everything that they said in this. Adipose tissue has a lot of estrogen and hormones, so that can affect your mental health. And once you have one disorder and disease, it's very easy to just start collecting them all. And yeah, obviously people that are thin can still get different disorders and diseases, but it is such a slimmer chance than it is when you're obese. I feel like I'm not being that sassy. What's wrong with me? Maybe I need some more of that. So here we got another one. Okay, let's pull up the image first. I feel like the caption spoils it sometimes. So these are all comments from Instagram. I don't know if it's under the same post or not. The first comment says, 68 kg isn't overweight at all. I am 70 kg and don't consider myself overweight. You don't get to consider yourself overweight. There's this thing called the BMI, and depending on your weight and height, it determines what category you're put in. So even if you don't think you're overweight, you still might be. Yesterday I did the conversion for 68 kg, and I think it was around 150 pounds. And depending on your height, that might make you at a healthy weight, might make you overweight, might make you obese. I think I'm 5'5", so I think that would still make me in the overweight category. I guess I can pull that up. Guys, I don't know how I will ever be a healthy weight, to be honest. Like, it feels crazy. Let's see, 150 for my weight. 150 for 5'5" is a 25% BMI, but that's on the cusp of being overweight in a healthy weight. Guys, I have to lose fucking another 50 pounds to be considered a healthy weight. That's just insane to think, okay? How am I gonna do that?
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Sorry, that's a very limiting mindset to have. Second comment, you fail to understand some doctors will blame any medical condition on your weight, which is a form of malpractice. I think if doctors aren't bringing up people's weights at appointments, then it is malpractice because your weight has so much to do with your health. And if being obese or overweight isn't affecting you now, there is a chance that it will in the future because, like I just said, having obesity is a huge risk factor to so many disorders and diseases. And if you don't care about that for some reason, it's just, life is fucking harder when you're overweight and you're fat. It's harder to breathe, it's harder to move, your joints hurt, your back hurts. You know, I can go on and on and on. And yeah, depending on what medical condition, of course, if you have a fucking earache, it's not because you're obese. If you have an ingrown toenail, it's not because you're obese. But if you have diabetes or hypertension or asthma, you know, being overweight or obese may be making your conditions worse or actually just causing it. But getting that news from a doctor or being told that is kind of hard to hear and accept, which is why people don't like going to the doctor, because when the doctor says it, when they see the actual results printed on a piece of paper, whatever they're struggling with becomes reality. And then the third comment we have here, my snacks are 2,000 calories sometimes if I feel like having that. That's more calories than I'm supposed to be having in a day. Why I'm in a calorie deficit and losing weight. I mean, of course, I've probably ate like horseshit, and in the past I've probably had 2,000 calories in a sitting, especially if you go get if you go get a fast food meal with a milkshake, could easily be 2,000 calories. But just to have that as a snack, I don't know if this person is exaggerating or telling the truth, but 2,000 calorie snack, girl, you gotta be fat as hell for that. And you know, maybe once every couple months you do something a little crazy and splurge, but a snack still, that should be a whole cheat meal. That should not be a snack sometimes. Okay, so the comment says, 1, if I don't consider myself overweight, then I'm not. Weight doesn't matter. Smiley face. 2, I know better than doctors, and I can say anything is malpractice without knowing what it actually means. 3, 2,000 calorie snack. I'm gonna install TikTok. This cannot be real. Yeah, that's actually fucking insane. Guys, I hope y'all are not having 2,000 calorie snacks. If you are, girl, it's why you're fat. I'm sorry. Someone's gotta tell you that. All right, here's our last one. It's a collage from Pinterest. Let me scroll to the first one. I didn't realize there was so much fat acceptance on Pinterest, but I guess you can probably make any sort of niche prevalent on the platform. First post says, using BMI to determine a person's health status is like using a mood ring to diagnose mental illness. Simply ridiculous. BMI is usually a tool used with other health markers to determine what someone's health status is. And, you know, if you are a fucking 70% BMI, I think it's easy to say that you're unhealthy and you probably have a hard time breathing and walking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the mood ring changes because of someone's temperature, depending on like what temperature you are, not on your actual mood. When BMI, there's like a little bit of math to it. Next, we don't have an obesity epidemic. We have a diet culture epidemic. I mean, we do have an obesity epidemic. 43% of Americans are considered obese. That seems like a pretty pressing issue. Since diet culture is not a disease or a sickness, it can't be considered an epidemic. If it was, then it's something that's been going on since the beginning of time. Because there's always a diet or a miracle pill that some snake salesman is promoting. But you know what's not an epidemic? Living a healthy life and changing your lifestyle habits so you can live longer and breathe easier and get the right nutrition. It's more like finding a unicorn. Very tough. Fat phobia is a public health issue. Fatness is not. What a lot of people consider fat phobia isn't fat phobia, and they just say it is, so people get scared and won't say anything. Or what they consider fat phobia in the medical industry is actually just a doctor giving a fuck about their health. When I was watching the Aubrey Gordon documentary, she was saying the most harmful thing to fat people is the medical industries and the doctors' bias around fatness. You mean their years and years of education that have shown them how bad it is to be obese for your health. Yeah. Doctors are the worst thing for fat people, not the fatness themselves. This one says, you still need to eat, even when you're not as active as you have before, even when you have gained weight, even when you feel like you don't need to eat, especially when you feel like you don't need to eat. I mean, yeah, we all need to fucking eat, but depending on our weight, we should be eating probably a little less than we think or we want to. If you don't need to eat, or if you don't feel the need to eat, then you shouldn't force yourself to. Like, I understand that there is food noise, because I fucking have it screaming in my ear all day. But, you know, if you haven't gone the whole day without eating, or if you're sick and, you don't have much of an appetite, you should still have something, but it's also like, it won't kill you to go a couple days without eating if you're like so sick and throwing up and vomiting, even if you take a sip of water. We have this thing called body fat. I'm wearing a sweater so you can't see my big flabby arms. But if we don't eat at a calorie maintenance, or if we're eating in a calorie deficiency, our body will just eat the extra calories or fat on our body. We can go a couple days without food. But don't restrict yourself and do some sort of detox. If you genuinely don't feel like eating, then don't force yourself to. You'll survive. The biggest lie of diet culture is that your size can and should be managed. Because it is. If you are obese, it's because you need to put the fucking fork down. Your size can and should be managed, because I can't control everyone. I can't be God and tell everyone what to do, but I still wish and I hope that everyone can have the longest, fulfilling, healthiest life. So if you do take care of your health and lose weight, then you can and should manage to lose weight and become healthier. Losing weight is not magic. It's science. Your body can manage its weight and size so you don't have to. I guess. I don't know. I feel like this quote's so fucking stupid. Your body can manage its weight and size so you don't have to. I feel like they're kind of implying that, there is this natural weight that our bodies are supposed to be at. And, if you lose a bunch of weight, you're just going to gain all that weight back and go back to your start weight, or like what you're supposed to be at, your homeostasis weight, if you will. But in reality, we do have control of our weight, because how many calories we eat determines if we are going to maintain, lose, or gain weight. And you should maintain your weight and size, because we should all thrive to be healthy. And guess what? You and your body, you guys are all one thing. You're working together. Your mind, your soul, your body, you're not separate entities. You're all one. So stop pretending like your body has nothing to do with you. And this little last one, do what French fries do for my body. Oh my god. Sorry guys. I've been reading way too much. What do French fries do for my body? Carbohydrates for energy. Dietary fat for skin, hair, and nail growth. Sodium for muscle contrast. Potassium for nerve and muscle function. I'm not too well educated on nutrition and what everything does for our body, but this just feels like a huge cope. And instead of having greasy ass French fries that have no nutritional value, yeah, they have carbs and they do have fat because they're fucking deep fried in canola oil. And yeah, there is sodium on them from salt, and I guess potassium is probably in potato, but why not just have some roasted potatoes? You don't have to have fucking McDonald's French fries to get all of these things. You could get half of these things from a fucking daily vitamin. What a cope. Yeah, they technically have some sort of nutrition, but it's not the best for you. You're not going to be healthy if you only eat French fries. It just seems like they're trying to convince themselves that it's fine to eat fast food for every fucking meal, when quite frankly it's not. Have fun with your clogged arteries from your dietary fat from your French fries. Guys, that's not the right dietary fat. That's canola oil. And of course, it's fine to have canola oil and to have deep fried stuff, but it's better to have natural butter or avocado or nuts that have healthy fats in them, not French fry grease. But I feel like I don't have to explain that to you guys, even though you probably know more than I do. Oh my god. Oh my lord. So let me know what y'all think of those little posts on Reddit. This one is probably a lot longer than my other video, so I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna hurry up and edit this so then I can work on my Aubrey Gordon video. Me just having more flashbacks. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video. And if you enjoyed me, consider subscribing. I'd love to see you back here again. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Peace.